Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Real Estate Deli. I'm your host, Money Making Mando on IG. Again, Money Making Mando with another episode of the Real Estate Deli, where we cut through all the noise and deliver actual insight straight to you and make the information the star as always. Again, let me introduce you to a special guest that we have on today. Her name is Jill Jensen. Welcome, Jill.
Mando, thank you for having me.
Thank you for showing up. Like we've been talking back, and I've been intentionally trying to connect with you. Like I told you before, I was a little intimidated, just to be super honest with you, and I told you why. And and there was nothing to be intimidated by. Just it was something that you conjure up in your head, right? Which is all good. And you're the sweetest person, and you actually reached out to me, which was what was the great thing that the universe said, you know what, you feel a certain type of way, but we're gonna connect you, and she was the one that reached out. So I was super happy for that because I already had that intention and the universe was able to provide that. So again, Jill, thank you.
Well, I appreciate being here. And when I saw that you had a show, I was like, oh, I want to connect with like-minded people and said, let me get on your show with you.
Let's make it happen. So again, Jill, she's a capital raiser. This is kind of her specialty, and let's jump right straight into it. Where have you found successes in capital raising? Tell us about some opportunities or some deals that you've done, some cash that you raised for some extraordinary projects. Let us know.
Perfect. Connect, connect, connect. That's where the money's at, is in knowing how to connect with people. If you haven't made an if you're struggling raising capital, you haven't made enough friends. And everybody is also a sell. Because if you don't have money, I guarantee you know someone that does. You have connections with the people that you already know. So, what I've done over the last 2.5 years, I started dabbling into real estate, learning about it. And it wasn't until January of this year that I really started to raise capital. I've raised over $3 million since the beginning of this year. Biggest deal I raised for was a mobile home park. I needed to raise $2 million, and I did that in about 4.5, 5 months. And then I've done a lot of side deals, land development, working on an apartment complex right now, another mobile home park. I own pad splits, portfolio with another couple partners. I raise capital for those, and also taking down another mobile home park with one of my other partners.
That's awesome. I like to say, let's get into how. I like to say to myself sometimes, how do I, right? So, how do I raise $3 million in 2024? Take us through that process. Obviously, you have this skill set that you've honed over time, and how do I get there? Let's say, so someone who wants to get to achieve where you're at, what's kind of the road that you kind of paved for yourself that others can follow?
This is a perfect question to ask someone that's trying to get into this space. And it's what I did in 2023. And that's how I was able to raise capital in 2024.
Interesting.
First, a model that I like to live by is you are most powerfully positioned to help the person you once were. What I mean by that is I was a person that had money and became a private money lender myself. So when it was time to go raise capital on my own, I knew all the questions to ask because I was the person asking those questions. I was sitting on the other side of the table, other side of the computer. People were pitching to me. So I knew exactly what I needed to overcome, what made it so Jill would say yes to a deal. If I can overcome those same things for these lenders, they're going to say yes.
Wow, what an incredible strategy that he used you against you, let's say, right? Like he basically took what information people were telling you and you kind of just reversed it in the other way. And then the presentation, you know how to present it. That's incredible, like how you make that happen. And you said you got into a mobile park and you're getting into another mobile park. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I first skipped over single family and purchased a couple mobile home parks with another partner. And then I started raising capital for a fund, and they were acquiring large mobile home parks. And now I work with a different partner, the one that I own personal parks with. on taking down a couple other mobile home parks. Here's the trick. I simply raise capital. You ask me to underwrite, couldn't do it to save my life. But I've never lost any money also, knock on wood, at least not yet, on any of my deals. And how I've done this is, like we've said before, the book Who, Not How. I figured out the people that already know how to be successful in their sector inside of real estate. So the guy that I own mobile home parks with, that's his main avenue. He's been doing it a long time. I vetted him as a person and asked him, what are all of your failures that have now become lessons? Okay, what's your track record? What collateral or personal guarantee do you have against my loan, type of thing? Same thing with the pad splits that I own. That's his main focus. One market has the same contractor, rinse and repeat, doing the same thing over and over. Okay, awesome. Someone else that's in the land development deals, they have a mentor that's been doing this for 30, 40 years, and he's taking him under their wing. So he literally has someone that's holding his hand that's been doing this for a long time. And I'm like, okay, I see an opportunity with someone early on, but they also have the credibility of someone helping them that's been doing this a long time. So as a capital raiser, you want to make sure you're really vetting the people that you're raising capital for. And it sounds like I have all these different deals, which I do, but I haven't gone out and found any of them.
That's amazing. One of the first questions when I started listening to you on other pods was you mentioned that you weren't good at underwriting and stuff like that. So that kind of resonated to me, and I believe it resonates to a lot of people in this space as well. This is nothing new, right? These numbers, and it's sort of like an art as well, right? It's math, it is numbers, but there's an element of art in know how to analyzing these deals and all that. And that's kind of not one of my strengths. So that's what resonated when you mentioned it. And that's the first thing I wrote down. So the person that you found is in the RV space. This is what he does already. And you just vetted him. Wow. So it's all kind of built in. You know, you're fortunate to find this person who does all this part of the work. And you just go and raise that capital and just stay laser focused on that end of the business per se, right?
Yeah.
And then you've taken that same model and applied it to the pad split as well, right? And to all the models. So you actually built the system. You built your own system. So people hope you're listening. She's giving you some of a cheat code where you can figure out how to make all these pieces connect at the end, right? And you just have one focus and one job is to become excellent at it, right? And again, this is a model that I look forward to emulating as well, because again, you're setting the table to what you can accomplish in the real estate space. So kudos to you. Thank you for imparting us with your knowledge.
You're welcome. And one of those things that Pace Morby taught me was, he said, Jill, I'd rather you pass on 100 deals before doing your first. Mm-hmm. People get this shiny object syndrome or the FOMO, a fear of missing out. I have $200,000. Everybody's doing deals. I'm feeling anxious and I'm just going to jump into one.
Yes.
I'd rather you let it sit there for 6 months to a year to 2 years before you do your first one. Some of the questions I have asked people that have the deals, I ask them, how many deals have you done like this? Okay, let me talk to people that you have borrowed money from and gotten their money back. I want to talk to people that have worked with you before. You want to come across as kind of harsh in the beginning because no one is going to care about your money as much as you do. And set the expectation of, okay, how often are you going to communicate with me on this project? I want a phone call once a month. If this doesn't happen, here's the penalty. If my money is late by this date, this is what's going to happen. So making it, what is their processes with acquiring the properties and what does it look like for that lender? Because your job is you're going to be the one communicating that information to the person that's bringing the money. So if you know, okay, they're credible. Have you ever done this with your own money? Do you believe in your processes enough to put your own money at hand? Okay, cool. Let me talk to the people that you've done business with. I get to know a little bit of who they are just as an individual. Do we jive on the same, sometimes it's morals or values or family, things like that. And those are some of the questions that I ask before just raising capital for anyone. And the biggest thing I also mention is if you're going to raise capital, your reputation is on the line. Because if you take Bob's money and put it into Joe's deal and Joe's deal goes south, your friend Bob is going to look at you because you were the one that connected them to the deal. So you're not going to get any of Bob's money ever again because you just messed up on the connecting him to John, whatever I named it.
Yeah.
Here's the cool part. Your reputation is also on the line when you help people make money. People love to talk about how they're making money. So your name is going to be brought up in other rooms when you're not even there. And they're going to be like, oh, guess how I'm making money? Or they're going to give you their money again saying, go do the same thing.
That's awesome. I like to revert back to what Pace said. Don't rush into getting into a deal, right? That's kind of very important for a lot of newbies that want to chase a deal for the sake of chasing a deal. And it's kind of ego driven, or just want to say I did something to do something. And sometimes no deal is the best deal, I say, right? Sometimes holding on to your capital is the best move at the time, right? So again, guys, keep sharpening your sword just to make that one cut, right? Be mindful of that. And like you said, you have a system where it becomes like a word of mouth, right? Where people get to know you, exactly what you're doing. And you mentioned it. You get a reputation regardless, good or bad, right? So you're going to get one regardless. So now is your intention to make sure that you vet the person, everything is in its order, to be able to deploy someone's capital to get a positive return at the end, right? So that's super, super important when playing with other people's money, let's say, right?
Well, also, I'm trying to use it as strategy because if Jill posts a deal, Jill doesn't post deals very often, which means Jill's vet the deals. That means that's a good deal. I want to jump on. If Jill has a deal, it's solid because she doesn't just post anyone's deals. She vets the person and the deal.
Awesome. I love that. Jill, let's get into some, if you encounter some hardships, some failures, some disappointments in the industry where you'd be like, damn, you had to pick yourself up and, lick those wounds and, kind of hover in a corner, be like, oh man, I got to get out of this place, this pit of hell, let's say. And how do you overcome these issues?
Well, my first problem, a lot of people would think is a good problem, but it's still a problem that I had to overcome. And this is how I got into private money lending. I was married and I built a multi-million-dollar company with my former husband, knocking doors, selling pest control, had a pest control company, hundreds of sales reps, millions of dollars going on. We got divorced and I was left with some money. And the problem was I didn't know what to do with it. I knew I had enough that it could be making me money, but I didn't trust myself, let alone anyone else yet. That's when I started educating myself in the real estate space. And I asked myself, what do a lot of wealthy people do with their money? And they invest in real estate or they have real estate assets. So that was my first hurdle, is I just need to get my money making me money. And I became very successful in the top girl sales rep in selling pest control my first summer because I did one crazy simple thing.
What was it?
And I did the exact same thing with private money lending. And now I'm doing the exact same thing with raising capital.
No way.
It's the exact same thing. It's this simple. Are you ready?
What is it?
Just find the person that's the best at what you're trying to do. Ask them all of the questions. So when I was knocking doors, it was like, What do you say? I literally wrote down his pitch until I could memorize it. Okay, what are all the objectives? Okay, what do you wear? Where do I move? How do you pick a neighborhood? How many hours? How many months? Like, what's your tone of voice? How do you stand and present yourself at the door? I knew if I was going to do the same things, I would get similar results. So the next thing was I was on this hunt for who was the person in real estate that I can just cheat off of. I came across Pace Morby and I'm like, that's it. Signed up. I found Sub2, 48 hours. I signed up. Like, I found it. That's what I'm looking for.
He's it.
That's it. Then when I got in there, it was, okay, who inside the community is doing what I'm trying to do? So what I did was I went and found successful people that were lending their own money. I didn't talk to people that needed my money. I talked to the people who are already doing this, and then I partnered with them.
So you were looking for specifically people who were lending their money. Just you wanted that relationship to be able to piggyback off whatever they're doing. Again, repeating the model that you just created. All these little models everywhere.
I didn't even realize I was doing that. You're like talking like, yeah, I guess.
And door knocking, the way you did door-to-door sales, let's say that's kind of what you were doing. I believe women have an advantage they probably might not know. I just think they do. I think people are more comfortable opening the door for a woman than they are for a man.
Well, a woman, it's a woman is less threatened from another woman, and a man is like, why is there a woman at the door?
Yeah.
Sure. What are you saying?
Yeah, you're right. So again, I just took that. I said, because I said, you know what? I think she has an advantage here. You know that guys probably don't, right? Especially big guys intimidated with a beard or something. Who knows? I don't know. But
I just use the same skill with raising capital because it's the same psychology of getting someone that needs something. And now I'm just educating them and guiding through the process on how to invest their money. So as a woman, I think I also have an advantage there.
You do. That's a good thing. Good for you. So yeah, all right. So you went through some of your struggles and how you overcame them. And let's get to you met Pace, you joined a community, you partner with some people, you start seeing some success. Let's get back to climbing that ladder. And what deals were you making in the community that said, you know what, I'm in the right place. I'm being successful again, using my own models. I'm off to the races again.
Okay, so when someone's down, still in the dirt, we're still in the ditch. A mind shift completely changed with this one thought. Nothing happens to me. Everything happens for me. Even the things that you feel like went wrong. You don't realize that is actually helping you or teaching you something to actually get you closer to what you're trying to accomplish. And I'm also very religious. And another thing that I share with people sometimes is if things happen the way you want them to, that's God's direction. And if they don't, that's his protection. And so when people talk about these hardships, I've turned those into, this is happening to me. I mean, this is happening for me. This isn't negative. Everything in my life is happening for me. An abundance. Even if you look from the outside, it's like, how could losing your job or your money? And an example I have was I was raising millions of dollars for this fund and I got fired from the job.
Oh, man.
And I was like, wait, I woke up one day and my CRM was turned off and my email was turned off. And I was like, there was miscommunication going on. And I honestly kind of started to, I wanted a seat at the table. And as a woman, you also have these hardships of, it was kind of like, you're an employee and you need to stay in line. And I was like, no, I know my worth and I don't want to, I want to get paid what I'm worth.
That's right.
And so like in hindsight, just since that happened, so many doors have opened. And it was like, okay, these are the people I'm supposed to be with. I learned and I took everything I needed from that position. And now I'm just going to go do it on my own. So just look at everything as it's happening for you, not to you.
Yeah, especially when you're, let's say, in that situation, you got to be equipped to be able to overcome these things, or not you could even sink lower. You couldn't continue that precipitous drop because you're mentally not in a space to, like you said, of abundance, a place of understanding yourself, right? It's kind of a self-care, right? You got somewhere to protect yourself, and like I said, this is God's journey for you. Again, you just have to be open to opportunities and be in the right mindset for these things, I think, to occur, or for you to notice them, because sometimes life, these things come in a whisper, I say, right? And if you're not paying attention to these little whispers, you might miss them, right?
Totally. There's
Right.
this book called Who Moved My Cheese? Right after that position change, a woman sent it to me in the mail. And it was basically about there's this maze and there's two humans and there's two mice. And the cheese gets moved and the mice just move as fast as possible to go find the cheese. Okay, you move my cheese? I don't care. Here I go. Where the humans got stuck being like, we're just going to sit here and wait for the cheese to come back. I'm just going to wait for that good thing that happened. Where the mice were just like, shift, we're running, we got to go. So when life throws you curveball, move as fast as you can in taking action and just potentially another direction.
That's awesome. An awesome analogy that you can learn even from mice, right? Again, I have a mice story too. I'll share it with you after. But yeah, again, that's amazing. You can learn something from anywhere, basically, right? If you're paying attention. But yeah, so you start now seeing success in the community. You ventured now. Now you're climbing up that ladder. You say, "Wow, I have proof of concept." Let's say I'm making it happen. Now, where are you today, and where are you going? Where's the journey going now?
That's a great question, Mondo. And like I mentioned in the beginning, you're most powerfully positioned to help the person you once were. And the question I asked myself after I solved my problem of getting my money, making me money. And now I'm a single mom. I don't have to have a W-2 or 9 to 5, so I'm at home. And I just ask myself, if I can solve a rich person's problem, they'll pay me.
Love it.
And I'm like, what are their problems? A lot of them have money and they don't like taxes, or they pay high taxes. Right. So that's when I was like, once again, it's real estate. Now, I was a woman that got divorced and had hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now I'm helping those same women who find themselves potentially in a divorce or single, or they have a retirement account, a whole life policy, whatever it may be. They're sitting on a chunk of change and they don't have the confidence in doing it themselves, where it's like, I can hold your hand and I can do it with you instead of trying to figure it out, since I've already gone down that path. And that does two different things. Well, actually, for mine, it's going to help three. First, it's going to help the woman who's trying to get her money, making her money. Two, I'm going to be acquiring more real estate. And number three, I really want it to be in the affordable housing sector.
That's incredible. You mentioned something earlier, which resonates to me as we spoke prior. The journey of a woman in the real estate space, the real estate sector, right? It's so male dominated, like a lot of industries are. So I personally like to highlight women in the industry. It's just it's in my nature, right? I gravitate towards women more than guys. I'm a guy already, again, right? So again, I just love the resiliency of a woman and just the different aspect that a woman brings to anything, right? A guy's more ego driven. No, let's go. Ooh. A woman might have a different perspective. Let's think about it. They might think of safety. Women have children, right? So they think a different way than a guy. So I love that perspective, the other side of the coin, that I try to utilize myself, me being a guy, right? The way I kind of think, it's in my DNA. So I know we spoke earlier that you're trying to create opportunities to work with women, more women in the real estate space. Can you talk about that as well?
Yeah, first I'm in the same community of Sub 2, but also Owners Club. And there are other women in our group that are all trying to build large businesses in the real estate sector. And some of those things are co-living, communities for 55 years and older, sex trafficking victims, homes for them, and affordable housing just in general, Section 8, all these different things. And so on a weekly basis, I'm collaborating with them on building our large businesses. On a smaller scale, I'm taking just people in my network or that come in contact with me, and I get on one-on-one call with them. I'm going to start doing a weekly Zoom where it's like, come learn the basics. You have some extra money. Let me just show you how we can invest it, do it together. And then I want to also provide something that I truly love, and that's just teaching how to raise capital for your own deals. Because I know so many people in the real estate space, and I'm like, I could teach you how to pitch someone.
I want to learn.
Yeah, some people know how to get the deal, but they don't get the deal because they don't know how to close the money.
Yes.
And people are like, I'm so afraid. I'm like, it's the best space to be in. You're helping other people make money. You're not selling them anything.
Absolutely. Just an opportunity, granting an opportunity. I love that. Where do you envision your businesses in the next 3 to 5 years? Let's say you're Mount Everest. Let's say the peak, your vision, where you want to see yourself, where are you going to go? You know,
I want to have my own fund. So as I'm raising capital, I have a team of people that are acquiring multifamily properties. I'm not necessarily in that space. I'm just the face of raising the capital where I can get on stage, get in front of other people, have my own group of women. I want to have a podcast with my daughters and I, connecting with other entrepreneur mothers and their daughters, because I am a single mom. And the most important thing in my life is my family and my children. And how can I bring them in on my my Mount Everest?
Sure.
And I really have this passion for educating mothers on helping the next generation with financial literacy.
That's awesome. It's all you're gonna do all of those things. I'm so excited to follow your journey. And now in parting, let's leave the audience with some words of wisdom, where they can start, how they can get it going. You know, how do I, basically, again, back to the how do I.
How do I? It's the 1% of people. If you're even listening to this, you're already in that group. You're trying to better yourself, and you are capable of it. If you asked me 2 years ago, it's like, yeah, but Jill, you're already doing this. I'm like, I knew no one in real estate. And the biggest piece that changed me from where I was to where I am are the connections that I have made.
That's awesome.
People were connecting when they were, let's say, a wholesaler. They're calling sellers all day, trying to find a property. Since starting in real estate, I have called one seller ever. And I was like, there's got to be better ways to make money. And so what I did was I got on as many Zoom calls as I possibly could every single day with people in real estate groups. So like ours, it was Sub 2. And I just asked them, what are you doing? What do you need in your business? And what did you do or are doing outside of real estate? And so that's how I started raising capital without even realizing it. Because in my phone, I would put their name, how much money they had, and I'd put a little money bag next to their name. And a year later, when I realized, I want to start raising capital, I just went to my little search engine on my phone. I typed in the little money bag, and every person I talked to last year, it said how much money they're looking to invest. And I just started calling those people now.
That's awesome. Jill, where can we find you? What's your social media handles? How can people get in contact with you? Talk to us.
We're just going to go straight to the IG right down here.
Yeah.
It's I am a Jillionaire.
Oh man,
Send me a private message. I can get you set up with one of my links to my Zooms, and we can even potentially jump on a call.
That's awesome. Jill, again, thank you for you reaching out to me and you making the connection. Says a lot about you, you know, how you want to reach out to people and again, establish those connections in the business. As you see, she's giving you the blueprint. She's left a lot of information out. So be mindful. She has more to share and we'll connect in the future. Again, thanks, Jill, for coming.
You're welcome. See ya.
Bye-bye.